Favorite Prince interaction?
I
know you've had them.
I have Prince interactions I can't talk about in public. But I will tell you this. So Prince used to hang out with me, South Beach nightclub, every Wednesday night for about a year, maybe two. He would sit in the DJ booth with me. His people would come up, clear everybody out the booth, and then he would sit in the booth with me and watch me DJ from 9 to midnight. And then he'd be like, all right, I'm out. And then, throughout the evening, it was very funny to have Prince leaning over your shoulder and go, yo, what you gonna play next? What you gonna play next? And I'm like, you want me to play one of yours? He said, no, just do your thing, Tim, look at her, man. No, she shouldn't have had it on, huh. And I'm thinking in my mind, like, yo, that's Prince talking to me about the club. That's crazy.
He's funny as shit, too.
He's hilarious. Yeah. I'll tell you some stories off camera. It's very funny.
I got you. I got you. Okay, all right. Last Night to Live. Local show, local meal. What are they?
Local show. Wow. Well, local meal. The place I really liked the most ain't even open. It was Tucci Benucci. I used to love that spot.
Oh yeah, that was.
And that would have been my last meal for sure. And as far as a local show, I would go see any local hip hop show that I don't know the artist. Just to watch the vibe.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope.
No, we don't. Y'all know it takes a special track to do this. I'm on my P's and Q's, dripping sauce. It's just the fluid, it's the chef. I'm here to remind y'all I'm sick with it. My name is stuff that's hot. It's ubiquitous. Meaning it's one and the same, simple and plain. I'm all about my paper, the bacon, cheddar, and pain. I got these lanes running for the border. The talented Mr. Porter, keep it flowing like it's water. But here we go, there we go. Creeping to a low speed. Is it him and his friend sitting in the nosebleeds? Play it cool. He ain't special just cause he's on TV. Everybody's hands up, acting like they know we.
Welcome to Taste Music Here Food podcast show, the destination for food, music, and culture and how they connect. I'm your host, Ed Porter, and today we have an amazing guest, somebody I've been looking to talk to for quite some time in a platform like this. And I would be remiss not to give this man his flowers. And so I'm going to attempt to do such with this intro right here. So, all right. Omitting a Bruce Leroy-esque neon glow is an iconic record shop on University Avenue. One man has been cooking up a revolution in rhythm. The mastermind behind Urban Lights Music, Minnesota's only Black-owned record store. He's a living archive of hip-hop history, a visionary DJ and artist in his own right, helping to shape the Twin Cities' musical past as well as its future. For over 30 years, he's been serving up musical feasts to his community, blending beats like spices, stirring a soulful stew of sound and satisfying hungry ears with every groove. A true pillar of the Minneapolis hip-hop community, he's mentored countless aspiring DJs and artists, turning raw talent into seasoned pros, marinating them in wisdom until they are sizzling on stage. Through his weekly Faders Up sessions, he throws open the doors for local turntablists to learn, jam, and shine, transforming turntables into classrooms and raising up the next generation one vinyl at a time. He's a tastemaker, infusing the scene with flavor, a cultural leader keeping the vibe alive, and a musical force mixing history with innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. Tim Wilson.
I'm tearing up, bro. I don't know where to hug you. Or,
yeah, man, listen, all the above, man.
It's a lot going on, man. Yeah, no, I appreciate you. That's awesome, man. I appreciate that.
Nah, so really quick, Urban Lights was one of the first stops I made when I got to Minnesota.
Okay.
So my neighborhood record store, Moody's,
yeah.
He's
in the coalition.
Yes, he's in the coalition. So so I tapped in with them.
Okay.
To where do I go when I go to this place? I don't know where to go.
Okay,
I'm like, so Urban Lights.
Cool.
Urban Lights.
Yes, sir.
St. Paul. And then I realized that cats in Minneapolis don't go to St. Paul, which is weird.
Which is weird.
It's weird. But yes, it was my first stop. One of my first stops.
That, yeah.
I bought 50's album from
Okay, yeah. That's what's up. Yeah.
That's my first stop, man. So this is a long time coming to sit down and have this conversation. And I just want to get into the evolution of Urban Lights, like how did it come about. Okay. I know the story, but
for sure.
It's how did it all come about, and the evolution of over the years.
Okay. Well, literally, it came about because, I be honest with you, I probably was in the music business before I knew I was in the music business. So I can go all the way back to high school, and I wasn't the athlete, but I wasn't the best student, but I was very creative. And so I wanted to find a way to fit in. Music became that way to fit in. And I was already collecting records. I would go with my grandmother. She would take me down to the record store, and I'd buy the top 20 records. Give me all those 45s. And then I'd go home, and I'd make mixes.
What was the first record you bought?
First record I bought was Maze, the Maze album.
Yeah.
That was the first record I ever owned. And so I go and I make these mixes, and my locker goes from having books and everything in it to I'd open it up, bam, it's a store. And so people come to my locker, hey, I got a party this weekend, I need some slow jams. Boom. $15. Go out the door. Groovers Incorporated. What's the name of the cassette? So, so literally, I was doing it before I knew I was doing it, and then I was always hanging out at record stores throughout the city. That's how I built my vinyl collection to be able to DJ. I would trade information for records.
There you go.
And then, so I was Music Land, and then I would go across the street to the other record store, and then I would get on a bus and go to another record store, and, end of the week, I have all the new joints. Yeah. And became DJing, started DJing around the city. We in First Ave, had no business being in First Ave at 15 DJing. But we were in the booth. The cat who used to DJ on Thursday nights, More Funk Night, back in the day, named Roy Freedom, he would smoke a cigarette like every 15 minutes. So he'd be like, who wants to DJ? So, we're all like,
yeah,
let's go.
I do it.
So every week we're there to
Right.
take turns and kind of learn the game a little bit. And so all that information, and then I start running a record pool for another record store. So I'm getting acclimated on how to order, how a store should go, how.
Oh, you was in the business before you was.
Yeah,
in the,
I was in the business before I ever got into business. So it was like the mafia probably.
Right.
Born into it.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning just the communication game. I'm talking to people like Jay Prince. I'm talking to Luther Campbell. I'm talking to Tom Silverman. Damn. All these labels are just getting started. Tommy Boy, Luke Skywalker Records, Rap A Lot, Profile, Sugar Hill, Joey Robinson. I'm speaking to all these people because I'm trying to get records into the city for the DJs.
Right.
And so built cool relationships with people. Had to get a job. Graduated from school. End up in sales. But I'm also at the same time still in the music business. I'm 1 foot in, 1 foot out, rapping, producing, running a label.
Don't glaze over the rapping part. So they get
don't
glaze over.
I always tell people you got to go online and find it. We're not having that discussion. No, So I did for a minute. Yes. There are records out there. You have to find them.
Yeah. I got a couple.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's all good. A couple slip through the cracks every once in a while. I ain't mad at you. So I was doing all these things at the same time and being in sales, and used to hang out at a store called Northern Lights. It was in my sales territory, so I'm supposed to be selling products, but I'm at the record store hanging out. And the owner, they own like probably 12 to 15 stores at that time, and they used to joke with me like, hey, you should buy this. You're here all the time. I might as well just give you a key. You can come in and go as you please. And we laugh and joke about it. But all the way back to high school, me and my buddies used to say, man, what if we could own our own record store? That would be so cool. Like, we do all this music stuff, and we could just put it all under one roof. That'd be great. So I called each of these people, said, hey, we can buy a record store. 1993, we bought a record store, opened it up. Urban Lights Music was born.
Dope. And, so we talking 30 plus years now.
Yeah. 31
years.
Yeah.
So how have you adapted to what's going on as far as, how people are consuming music today?
Well, it honestly is a hard process because, and I tell people this all the time, is like, I used to just put a key in the door and order music and sell music. That was it. Now it's a little bit more calculated as far as what you order, one, but two, the moves that you make, because I got to keep bodies coming in. So, we turned it more into a cultural spot now. It's a space. It's a creative space now. So people come in. People just come in and sit and write, and they'll come in and paint. They'll come in and draw. They'll come in and DJ. They'll come in and, man, I'm putting this record together, man. You mind if I just sit in the corner and just absorb for the rest of the day? Cool. So that's the evolution of everything now. How I got there was obviously selling CDs and cassettes, and then vinyl got real important. I took my record pool from the store I was at, moved it over here now. So now I'm running a record pool in this house. So I got all these different ways to get people music. DJs, the community, doesn't matter. Everybody's getting music. Then CDs, cassettes went away. CDs became very important. And then one day vinyl went away.
Yeah.
And I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. It seemed like it was about a 10-year period where vinyl was like, where is it at? Right. Like, all the record pool records dried up, all the promos dried up, all the I want to order this on vinyl. Oh, we don't even make it on vinyl. It's CD only. Mm-hmm. And then when that changed and went digital, then it's like, okay, what's the business going to be at this point? Right. So what we did is I continued to do a record pool, but it was a digital record pool. I continued to serve people music, but it was via putting in an iPod, putting in an MP3 player. CDs came back a little bit, made a resurgence. Mixtapes came in. So now with the mixtape game, so mixtapes are outselling everything. And that probably ran us another 5.5 years, maybe 6. And they were very expensive at one time.
Yeah.
Now cheap. But back in the day, I mean, you could go on 125th at Harlem and get them for
all the music. You get it for the low.
10 for $10. People come in, man, you don't sell it like you do in New York. Man, you gotta move to New York, bro.
Yeah.
Minnesota. We can't do that price. I don't know that pricing structure. It doesn't work for me.
Right.
But yeah, so the mixtapes carried us, and then like I said, we adjusted to the digital game. The mixtapes came, and now the resurgence. Vinyl is back. Mm-hmm. So I've seen it go, it's cyclical. I've seen it go from one thing back to what it was, and now CDs are about to come back. So
absolutely. Yeah, that's crazy. What do you think was or is the golden era, if you will, for Minneapolis hip hop?
That's a good question. Sorry about the cough.
No, good.
The golden era. Well, so people forget a lot about how hip-hop started, and I like to say that we were really on the forefront of what was going on because we were DJing in the parks. But again, we was trying to emulate everything going on in New York. So, we're listening to the radio show. We're trying to emulate the DJ. Because of that, we're trying to emulate the music now. So now we're finding ways to record at home, find a studio in somebody's basement with a 4-track Tascam hooked up to a Roland 707 and try to, so, we're wearing the breakdancing clothes. We got the graffiti crew with us and the whole thing. So we're doing everything. So that was the beginning of hip hop before we were even really making records.
Gotcha.
I think the first record, T.C. Ellis, the Twin Cities rapper, probably is the first official record that was ever pressed. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis also produced a record for Ice-T, believe it or not. This might be pre-breaking.
Wow.
Called Cold Wind Madness.
Y'all, please check it out. I'm a player. I'm always clean.
And it was like 11 minutes long, so Terry's on.
It was a disco song.
It's a disco song with Ice-T rap.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then K-Tel Records popped up. The IRM crew, they were the first group to have a record deal. So at that time, I was running a record pool, a place called Wide Angle Records. So Wide Angle was also a record label, too. They actually were one of the first, distribution deals. They made a deal with Tommy Boy, who eventually made a deal with Warner Brothers, a group called Information Society. But it was a record called Runnin' that came out of Minnesota. A lot of people don't remember that. And because of that, a gentleman by the name of Jerry Silvers had Wide Angle Records. I'm running the record pool. Mm-hmm. He says, I'll give you your own label. Okay, so now I'm running a record label. So what's the first thing that me and my partners did? We was like, well, we need to find some groups. So we need to find a group like Salt and Pepper, group like Public Enemy, group like Run DMC. We need a Kid and Play group. And so we go through the city and we find all this talent and we start putting records out. So literally, that's kind of the beginning of the hip hop scene in the Twin Cities.
Dope.
Everybody has their own story of it, but like date and times, that's probably the beginning.
That's super dope. Can you discuss your involvement as far as artist management and how you've supported artists over the years? I mean, I myself being one of them. Like, you know, you are the go-to cat in the city for, and that's not just hip hop, but R&B, whatever anybody's doing. As a local artist, you give people, the artist, a platform to be able to have their product up in the store with the likes of everybody else, you know. And so the fact that you do that is, you know,
it was always a big thing for me with the store. You know, I always remember people asking me, "Oh, do you have a local section?" And I would tell artists, like, "Why do you want to be in a local section? Like, you should want your CD to be right next to Run DMC. You want your CD to be right next to NWA. Let's shoot for that. There's no local sections. Everybody's equal here." So from the beginning, we used to give people opportunities for window space, right along with the national acts that would pay for it. But I give the local acts, you get the window for 30 days. You can have your stuff up. We would do in-stores just like we do in-stores for the big artists, for local records. So I always felt like that was important just to give people a shot. And you know, growing that situation, and I like to talk a lot. So I would have a lot of conversations with people about, yeah, I like what you're doing, but if you did this, this, and that, I think you might be a little bit more successful. So then it became like, don't play Tim records. Because
he's gonna pick it apart.
Yeah, he's gonna pick it apart, and it's gonna be a thing. So don't listen to it. You know, but I've actually had people come up to me and go, "Yo, remember when I brought my album into you and you told me it sucked?" I appreciate that because I got a job and I have a family now.
Turns out I suck.
Everything's good.
Yeah. I pivoted.
Other people still see me and go, "Yeah, you know, man, you messed up my career." You told me that. I'm like, no, I'm just trying to keep it real. Everybody can't go.
Everybody can't go.
You know? But to that point, the city has so much talent, and I have set the store up in a position now with the open mics and the different events that we do to showcase the talent and give people a chance to feel like it's big, because it should be. If it's your art and you feel like people should hear it, see it, let's make it big. Right. And so that's what we aim to do now.
It's dope. And it's a great segue to talk about Faders Up.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Faders Up.
So Faders Up came up, basically, we used to get together anyway and hang out and DJ and just, you know, play old records, talk about the old days, talk about techniques and new equipment and all that. And we said, look, we're here anyway on Saturdays. Let's turn this into a thing. So we just turned it into an opportunity for local DJs to get with us, to come hang out. We order food, do the thing, and talk music, and then talk DJ and how to continue to move that medium or that way of presenting music to the public. Let's find a way to keep this moving on. Let's keep the art form going, because the invent of the controller showed up, and everybody, just like making music, everybody feels like they can do it.
Right.
So the underlying part of Faders Up, which honestly scares off a lot of people, is that they see the scratching and the mixing and all that. They go, I don't want none of that. You know, I just it's a party, y'all. Yeah, it's not.
That's not DJ.
It's not DJ. No, it's playing music for people, which is cool. Do your thing.
Right.
But DJing is an art. And it's a way to manipulate music and change it and do different things with it. And to be honest with you, a lot of music survived and got to another level because the DJ mixed it, cut it, scratched it on a mix show, changed the beat, did this, and that. Same clicks were happening as far as audience approval and all that kind of, Nielsen rating type stuff. But people were hearing it in a different way.
Absolutely.
And so it's very important. DJ is super important. So it was very important to us to kind of keep that alive. And so now, man, people come by. We teach DJing. We people have record release party. We had somebody shoot a video last week during Faders Up.
That's dope.
You know, so yeah, we just try to, just keep the culture alive.
So Saturdays, what's the times?
Saturdays from 12 to 4.
12 to 4 in store.
In store, yeah.
And people come and
People come hang out. DJs, if you've never been by, come hang out. Bring your needles, bring your records, bring your needles. Bring your needles. Bring your own needles. You gotta use your own needles. Though. We don't share needles. We don't share DJ needles no more. That doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you think? Did you think, first off, that the culture would be where it is right now? And how have you seen it evolved, good or bad?
Right. I didn't see the culture becoming this because, in the beginning, everybody thought it was a fad, rapping, rhyming over music. That can't last long. But then you look at genres like jazz and rock and they go through their different iterations and changes and rap began to evolve. It just wasn't rhyming over music. Now it was rhyming with a purpose. Now it was rhyming with news and Public Enemy and NWA showing you what it looks like in South Central Los Angeles. And then it turned into more Afrocentricity conversations with groups like Arrested Development, Tribe Called Quest, and De La Soul. And now and that was the golden era of hip hop.
Right.
When there was a bunch of different flavors such as food, right?
Absolutely.
It's great that people are able to monetize. I always tell cats rap is a conduit to get you something else, get you the clothing deal, the soda deal, the whatever else you can sell because of your music. That's the important thing because the music itself now doesn't make any money. The streaming doesn't make money, but what can make money obviously is touring, but doing like you do, tie food to it, shows, things, how you can be creative and expand your network is probably the more important thing now. So that's the good part of it. The bad part about it is I think everyone feels like they're invited to the party.
Right.
And
the barrier to entry is very low.
Yeah. There's, there's no gatekeepers.
Right.
Gatekeepers are bad and good, but at one point in time, and I believe I heard L.A. Reid talk about this the other day, and he was saying that there's no boutique labels anymore. And we had a big argument about that at Faders Up a couple weeks ago, because I agree because they were the gatekeepers. Whether it was Divine Mill, So Def, Death Row, all these you had to go through them to get to the mainstream. Mm-hmm. Now the mainstream just goes, oh, you have 30 million views on YouTube.
You must be hot.
You're invited to the party. Here's your ticket, and we go. And so that's the bad side of it. Right. There's a lot of music that shouldn't be there, and then what it begins to do is water down the overall. It's like having a bunch of fast food restaurants that all sell the same thing. Eventually, we're all going to get tired, and so
and there's no more artist development. And
that's when you need the chef.
There's no more artist development.
There's no
A&R is gone.
A&R's gone. Yeah. But so coming back, because now the machine figured out that they're losing money. So
you can't have that.
You can't have the machine losing money. So now the machine says, okay, well, you know what? I might need the streets back again. I might need you radio people back again. And I might need you to go find me some artists that are qualified to be here because we have a bunch on the roster that shouldn't. So that's the good and the bad, the yin and the yang. I've seen the whole thing change. It's almost, I feel like it's the housing market right now. It's got to bottom out.
It has to.
And once it bottoms out and it's just the worst thing ever, which we're real close, that it can only get better.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the hope.
Every region has a food.
Okay.
Has the South has barbecue.
Yep.
New Orleans has Creole.
Yep.
New York is known for a lot of things, but we're gonna go with pizza.
Yeah, for sure.
Same thing in music. West Coast has that funky
Dr. Dre.
Yeah,
funk.
has
the G
funk.
Funk.
Yep. The South has
it's
got trap.
It's gonna be trap.
It's gonna be trap, and of course New York is known for boom bap.
Yep.
How would you say that those regions played a role into what that initial sound wound up being?
Well, and that's an interesting question because I don't know if Minnesota ever found itself.
That was my next question was,
Right.
if that's the case.
I don't think we found a sound. Honestly, it doesn't really matter what you do. It ties to Prince. And it ties to that original Minneapolis sound that he birthed. Jimmy and Terry, Morris, Jesse Johnson, Monty, the whole Jelly Bean, all the branches of the tree go from them. Right. So rap wise, no, we never. Now you could argue that the Rhymesayers maybe came up with the style, which was very boom bap, very backpack rhyming. You know, that was their thing. I grew up with a lot of those guys. So they were young enough to watch us and say, hey, I want to do that. And then they took it to a whole nother level. So I would argue that they have a stake in it. But sound-wise, Northside, we kind of always looked at it like that was more the Midwest South flavor. So that was where your Twisters, your Nelly, that type of music was at. You know, you might slide it down south, mess with T.I., that type of thing. South side was hip hop. And that's where I was from. So it was boom bap, it was KRS-One, it was, you know, that music, Run DMC. St. Paul was West Coast. So they were into, you know, Sibo, Looney Coleon, all the underground Bay music. And so neither shall meet. Ever, because that's what happens. Right. You know, nobody crosses the boundaries, the lines, and you can tell from the music. And so, you know, one of the things that me and my business partner are trying to do is really usher in this new era of the Minneapolis sound. Right. And it's really honing in on this lyrical talent, along with this very soulful music, because we come from that background with Prince. And we come from that background, even some of the rock stuff, even you want to dig into Bob Dylan and some of these records, there's really soulful records out there. But it's us trying to find this new sound and take these very, very talented artists here and put them on a platform that may step above what they're currently doing and show them a different way to market themselves and more importantly, a different way to monetize themselves. So we can get there, but I don't think anybody put a stamp on it yet.
And as we know, you know, the city has to get behind something to push it, and that's that. Everything that's
you got to find one.
It's got to be one.
You got to find one, and you got to ride. You got to help push them to the top.
And that's the way it's happened. It happened for Prince. Happened for Bob Dylan. It happened for Next. Same way. You know, so it has to be that. I want to talk about the DJ as the chef, as far as creating and, you know, experiences and vibes.
For sure.
So, you know, a chef would curate a meal by courses.
Okay.
Just as a DJ does the same thing.
Gotta do the same thing.
With you know, and in a unique way.
Yeah.
The remix is a DJ iteration. That started from a DJ.
Definitely DJ. Yeah.
And without that, like you said, DJs used to break records.
For sure. They don't do that anymore. That's another problem with the music business. There's no DJs breaking records anymore. But then they have no outlet. The outlet used to be the radio. But now the radio's all conglomerized. I don't even know if that's a word. But you have to go through so many channels to get your record played now. It forces all the independent people out. They have no chance to get their record played on the big major stations like they might have in the past. So
there's no show. There's no more any.
There's no DJ show. There's no, you know, after 10 mix show on Friday and Saturday night where you're hearing all the new joints. It doesn't exist anymore.
Which is travesty, because that's where, you know, we would discover.
That's where you hear these new groups that you never heard about, or you'd hear a certain DJ or a certain style, or, you know, whatever it was. Between 10 and 12, you knew that you were about to get flavor. You're about to get some new flavor.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, from a DJ standpoint, we serve it up just like a chef, because if you picture DJing in a club, right? So the first part of the evening is all just me playing you a bunch of music you've never heard before. So I'm gonna give you some appetizers and have you go, hey, who was that record you just played? Right? That's the job. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's why the record label gave me the records.
I'm teasing that palate.
I'm teasing. So I'm gonna give you these little, okay. And so now as the clock hits 10 o'clock now, I've got to serve, I got to get into the main course here. So because from 10 to 12, that's the prime time. So now I'm giving you all the hot records. I'm giving you all the records but I might give you, throw some spices in. I might mix it different. I might go from this record to that record. I might change the beat on that. I might flip the acapella, whatever. And then as we get into the midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, getting ready to close, now I'm going to bring it down. We'll have some dessert, and then y'all out. And so literally it's the same game.
It is the same game. When you do your events, any event, I don't care what it is,
right? From
faders up to just a impromptu gathering, where music is being played to have people commune. That the vibe of the atmosphere is very home-esque to me. It's hard to explain. So even from the posters on the wall, everything, it feels like New York to me. I'm gonna be honest, for me, because that's what I grew up going to. Again, Moody's and Harlem Music Hut, and and that's the vibe.
And that was my bedroom. That's what my bedroom looked like. So
and that's
turntables in the corner, posters all over the wall. Records everywhere.
Yeah, and that inviting atmosphere, I think and that's why I think people gather there, for a creative outlet as well, because it feels like this is the place to be creative. It's definitely,
and a lot of people say that.
It's definitely a safe haven.
And that's probably the best payoff for me, period. Just being at it this long, is having people say, I feel comfortable here.
That has to be. Isn't that? Because that's and what's so dope about it to me too is that the guy that owns it is always behind the counter. You didn't think so like you and there to give insight. I remember the first time I walked into Moody's. So if you think about it in this manner, it makes total sense. So it's actually a little intimidating because you have, a plethora of you don't know where to start. Right. So like if you're a cigar enthusiast, you walk into a cigar shop. I mean, it's stuff
cigars
everywhere.
Yes.
Like what do I as men, we don't like asking directions for anything, right? We just want to look. We want to walk in you know
what you're doing.
Place, but there's a sense of as in Moody's. Yep. The same thing you have is there's never that feeling of pretension. It's very dude, I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
What are you looking for? Oh, okay, cool. I'll point you to this, I'll point you to that. Yeah. And it's that feeling is something that one you can't manufacture. It has to be, true and honest from the heart because it's something that exudes.
For sure.
That to me is the magic of what you've created.
I appreciate that. I had a conversation with a grandmother and her son the other day. I let people come in, pleasantries, hey, how you doing? Let them move around without being bothered. And then when it looks like they have a question, then that's when I slide in and say, what are you looking for today? And the lady said to me, I don't know. What do you recommend? And I said, well, I could recommend a lot of stuff. But you don't look like you like a lot of stuff. So I said, what do you listen to? And then I can direct traffic from there. And she said, well, I like jazz. And I like jazz that speaks to me. It's very soulful. I said, okay. We went to the jazz section. I said, are you hip to Shirley Horn? Are you hip to Nancy Wilson? Nina Simone? I know the people, but I don't know the music. Can you point me the right ones? I said, well, I would listen to this. If you're going to start with Shirley Horn, if you want Nina Simone, we could go a bunch of different ways, but this is the greatest hits. I'd start here because it tells a story. Mm-hmm. And I said, she said, well, can I listen to them? I said, of course. She said, "You're gonna play them for me? That's what I'm here for." So I started going through the albums, and matter of fact, Donald Fagen was one of them.
Okay.
Because I'm a big Steely Dan fan, Steely Dan Asia I think is one of the greatest albums ever made, and so I start going through the CD, Shirley Horn, and she's like, "Yeah, this is incredible. I've never heard this before." I said, and so her grandson, and I guess they trade music back and forth, which is really cool.
That's super, super dope.
And I said, "You guys have a great relationship." I said, "Well, I'm gonna help enhance it here." I said, because I said he's for his age is really old school. You can tell by his conversation. And I said, so somebody like Shirley Horn, right? Who I said, if you can close your eyes and picture her in front of the piano, and the guy's doing his thing with the cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and the drink right here, and she's got the old school microphone in front of her, and it's, you can barely see over the smoke in the club, but she's doing her thing and she's telling stories. Nina Simone would be the same way. And the lady was like, "You know what? I can visualize everything you're saying. I'll take all of these." And so that's it. That's why I do it. Yeah. And when I say I love to talk about music.
Absolutely. So what you just described is what we was just talking about previously, is about the difference between taking someone's order and curating an experience.
It's I always knew from the beginning, man. It was like when we opened, I was combating Target, I was combating Musicland, Best Buy, Sam Goody, Coconuts. It was all kinds of record stores everywhere, right? And people were like, and we were always higher priced. Well, why should I come here? Because we're going to have a conversation about this music that you're not going to have a conversation at these other stores about, because they don't know what they're selling. The music's in the back of the store for a reason. It's a loss leader. They need to get you there past the towels and the spaghetti mix and the Doritos and everything else. And then, oh, by the way, Jadakiss has a new CD. Let me get that too.
Right.
That's it. Right. And so, but now me and you can have a conversation about it, and I'll tell you, don't buy that.
Right.
And this is why, in my opinion. Right. So
based off your preferences too.
Based on my preferences,
and that's you know what I'm saying, and theirs as well.
And people still tell me to this day, like, "Tim, man, you just don't like West Coast music like you do East Coast." No, I don't. I don't. But I understand it, and I get who it's for. Right. But Ice Cube, America's Most Wanted, probably one of the greatest rap albums ever made, top 5 for me. Yep. That spoke to me different than some other stuff. Right. Say out of the Bay and things like that. So I have my certain ones that people still remind me, "Yeah, man, you're a fan. You like all that. You Run DMC, all that. That's you. You don't like South music." No. I respect everything, and I understand what it's for, and I understand everybody has a different palette.
Absolutely. Okay, this is a good time to go into
questions from the audience.
All right, Minneapolis music greatness we probably missed. Who would you say that is?
Oh, wow. I don't think enough people paid attention to Jesse Johnson. When he left the time, to A&M Records' first album, he had a song called Free World that was, again, I said I look for records that are game changers, and that was one that just, oh man, when we throw that on in the club, they would go crazy. But the beat, and he was doing everything. I think he might have produced everything, every instrument, every beat, everything. I think we missed. Yeah, we missed on Jesse.
Yeah, the problem with Jesse is that he had that vibe, right?
Yeah, he did.
And so it automatically grouped him in.
Yeah. But Prince always said, though, he pushed him so hard because he was the one that was supposed to be next.
Right. So. Yeah. It makes sense. Yeah. Makes sense. What's a local group or national that we're sleeping on right now?
Ooh, locally, I'm going to say, I'll start a whole conversation with a bunch. There's a bunch of local artists that people are missing on, but there's a kid named Louis Blaze that people need to pay attention to.
I'm hungry, now give me my plate. I'm putting on for the state. Minnesota born and raised, and I'ma rap it to the grave.
He's super dope. when you talk artists and next level and opportunities, it's looking for that it factor.
Mhm.
And so, again, as artists that do their thing or whatever, people have great music, great creativity, but then there's something about the extras, and that's what shows like American Idol were looking for. They weren't looking for the best at that. They were looking for the all around person that could
Right.
check
The
every
star.
box.
Yeah.
And I believe he's one. Yeah.
That's dope. Okay. Who is next from Minneapolis? Who do you think is next?
I honestly, I think
who do you think is next step that the city's going to get behind? 'Cause that's really
that's a good question. Honestly, you know what? I really think gospel wise, people should get behind Javonta.
Father, I trust you. Father, I trust you.
He checks the boxes and he makes really good music, and it does resonate on a national level, and so I think there needs to be more attention paid to that.
Okay. This is a good time to go into a little segment that
Okay.
I call "One Gotta Go." You're gonna do the one gotta go.
All right.
So, films:
Okay.
Belly, Paid in Full, or Juice. One gotta go.
Belly.
Ooh.
Yeah. Shout out to Dame. Shout out to Dame.
Hey, Paid in Full is one of my is a classic to me.
Yeah.
So Belly gotta go.
Belly gotta go. Belly gotta go because
For the opening scene alone, they gotta stay.
Yeah. The opening scene was crazy, right? But I wasn't. You know what?
I don't like that.
The
I
whole
don't like
reggae,
that one bit.
the whole reggae tones.
I get you. I get you.
It just I wasn't there. I wasn't there at that time.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay. Finally, debut classics.
Okay.
Nas' Illmatic, Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style, and
You're not even gonna say
the
what should be
Notorious B.I.G.
there. Oh, yeah,
Ready to
yeah,
Die.
Come on, man. Yeah, it's
One gotta go.
Yeah, Nas gotta go. Man.
Nas gotta go.
Nas gotta go. Yeah, if you know, you know. Cats who know me know.
Well,
Nas gotta go.
I knew Ready to Die wasn't going away. I know that's that's your favorite album of all time.
It's the best album ever made.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah.
Nas gotta go.
Illmatic, the
Illmatic-
album that's
Illmatic was incredible for a first album. It wasn't Ready to Die, but it was incredible. Production was incredible, but it wasn't Ready to Die. Man, I may hold a grudge against him because he wrote Urban Life on something one time instead of Urban Light.
Oh, this is personal.
It could be just personal with me. But you can't replace Ready to Die. And I look at records like they made changes, right? Ready to Die, to me, ushered in a new East Coast sound. Just as Snoop issued in, him and Dr. Dre just changed the whole landscape of West Coast music with The Chronic and then what they did with Doggy Style. I feel like Illmatic was a great album, but it didn't change anything for me.
I get that. I look at.
Plus, he spelled Urban Light.
I then see it as this personal slight. I look at these three albums, and I look at any debut album as far as the artist's impact on culture at that time.
Okay.
And to me, there's the only greater impact I feel of a debut album coming out than Snoop.
Okay.
And Biggie had it too.
Right.
The greatest I've ever seen to date is 50.
Yes.
As far as impact and like everywhere, like I've never seen to this day. I still have not seen that.
It was crazy.
That was insane.
I remember. So I did the 10th anniversary event at a club called South Beach, and I had Woo Kid come in and DJ. Right. And he kept telling me, like, yo, Tim, man, my homeboy, man, 50 Cent, man, he's dope, man. I want to bring him with me. And I was like, nah, nobody here really knows. I mean, I was familiar with the mixtapes and, stuff like that. I was like, nah, they're not ready for me. Tim, man. He just kept calling me about it. And I remember I asked the dude who owned the club, and he was like, nah, we're good. We'll just take the DJ. And he called me the day before he was about to fly. He said, Tim, man, he'll buy his own ticket just to come hang out. I'm like, nah, we're good, bro. It's cool. It's cool. So Wu Kid comes, he DJs the party, and I end up calling him back a week later and say, we want to book 50 Cent. and we were going to take him to Prince's old club, which was Glam Slam, which is called the Quest now.
Yeah.
So we brought 50 Cent to the Quest, and it immediately sold out. This is 2 weeks before Ready to Die. Maybe a week before Ready to Die came out, he came to Minneapolis.
Okay.
2,000 people in the club, line around the block that couldn't get in. And I remember the guy I did the show with, he paid 50 Cent that night to come back and do the Target Center. And so that's how it went from 0 to 100. Like that album,
listen,
when it dropped, it changed
that Get Rich or Die
everything.
Trying. So I lived the whole movie. So like from the mixtapes, how to Rob set it off.
Yes.
And of course, the orchestration of all of that was Jam Master Jay. That put him
Rest
on
in
to
peace. That was my man.
That put him in play
Yes.
to go the way he was going.
Yeah.
And then once Dre got a hold of it, Dre to this day,
it was like it literally was like a rocket took off.
Yeah, that was insane.
And you don't see that anymore.
No.
I can't even think of the last time we may have experienced that with an artist where you were like, yo, that's him.
It hasn't happened since.
It hasn't happened since. That album went crazy. Every song was ridiculous. He was able to tour off that. He was able to, look at the empire he's built based on that first album, but it went 0 to 100. And keep in mind, we paid him $2,000 to do the show. A week later, he was $25,000.
Oh yeah, yesterday's price is not today's price. Yeah, for sure. And remember, so he has the same, he has that same chip on his shoulder as you did with Nas with the Urban Lights thing. Like, you didn't even want me to pay for my own ticket to come out.
I didn't want him to pay for his own ticket. I blew him off, man.
Yeah, man. Listen, that was a meteor happening.
Yeah.
That movement, that 50 movement was something different, man.
And then if you think about also the marketing behind the whole thing, it's like we don't even market music like that no more. We don't market anything like that. No. Movies, TV, cars, nothing.
Nothing gets that.
What they put behind that, oof.
Yeah, everything about it was and then of course the music was quality, so it stood the test of time, and to this day.
Yeah. It's still one of the best albums ever made.
Period.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely top 10, maybe 5 in a lot of people's conversations, but it's definitely one of them.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. Well, man, listen, I could talk to you forever, bro.
Yeah, we be here. We just my man Cory Booker did the filibuster. We just go 24 hours and just talk music.
You know what? That's it. I'm gonna hold you to that.
I'm with it.
That'll be dope. I think Gabe would have a problem, but yeah, man. Listen, I gotta thank you again.
No, I appreciate you having me.
For everything that you do.
No, I appreciate that.
For the culture, for the community, for artists, enough cannot be said about, the role that you play for the history as well as the future.
I appreciate that.
And I appreciate you, bro. And please tell all the people where they can follow you, where they can catch you at. Give them all your things.
Urban Lights Music is where I'm at every day, 1449 University Avenue, St. Paul, right in the Midway. It's hopefully the Midway's about to grow again, get back to it again, become a destination instead of a pass-through. But
absolutely,
people pass through to see us, but we'd like you to come and hang out and spend some time there. At The Urban Light on Instagram, Facebook, X, I think it's called these days. Maybe. I don't know what he's doing over there.
Yeah,
He's got a lot of problems right now.
for sure.
And also on TikTok. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Absolutely, man. This has been the Taste Music Hear Food podcast show with my guest, Mr. Tim Wilson. Until next time, peace.
Appreciate y'all.
Dope, man.
It was cool.
MBC. No relation to NBC.